Hey homies, what's up? Welcome or welcome back if you're not new and you know us already.
Hopefully you're returning.
Yes, we are the gruesome twosome.
Extra spooky this time.
Oh, well, we tried. Shit.
We have a late night, well, not late night, but nighttime sesh/story.
We've tried to record this earlier, but it didn't work out. And we have we're recording on his phone for right now. So I'm sorry if the quality comes out poo-poo. I'm really sorry, but it won't stay like this for much longer. I promise. I mean, it's only like, our 21st video?
Not bad.
Not bad.
We'll get in there. We'll learn the rope.
Today's story is such a good, spooky, true crime, horror, perfect. Lives up to the gruesome twosome name. And this story is the story that inspired
Dum dum dum.
Scream, Ghostface Killer. That's right, people. We are talking about the Gainsville Ripper.
Infamous Scream Killer.
So, the Gainsville Ripper, I'm sorry, but I have to mention, this has a bit of a trigger warning. There are some gruesome things that go on. So, just throwing that out there. If you need to skip any parts, feel free to do so. Grab your water, your tea, a snack, your blunt, your bong, your weed, your lighter. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied today. Anything you need to feel nice and relaxed and roasty toasty to enjoy this story. Before we get into the story, today's bud we are smoking on is some sour OG, and it is rolled up in a simple raw cone.
The classic cones. Can't go wrong with these.
Nice and easy.
Basically anywhere.
Right. Right, let's get into it. Cheers.
Cheers.
This story centers on Danny Rawling, who was born on May 26th of 1954 to James and Claudia Rawling, and it's reported that right off the bat, his dad, James, didn't want any kids. And he was a cop on the Shreveport PD, and he was known to be abusive to his wife and his kids. Danny, who was only 1 year old when he endured his first beating from his father, when his dad beat him for the first time.
1 year old?
For not crawling correctly.
For not crawling?
Whatever that means. After the birth of Danny's younger brother, Kevin, in 1955, the abuse only got worse. And their mom, so Danny's mom, she tried to leave the toxic marriage and everything, but, unfortunately, she returned each time.
She kept returning.
She kept coming back each time, unfortunately. She, couldn't get away from the dad.
Poor kids. Now he didn't want any kids, and then he ended up with 2 of them just to beat them.
Yeah.
Really?
So Danny was, struggling in school, and he, didn't pass the 3rd grade. And his counselors would describe him as having, an inferiority complex with poor impulse control.
Constantly.
He also developed multiple personalities just to kind of cope with the abuse going on at home. By age 11, Danny had picked up the guitar to kind of cope with everything going on at school and everything going on at home. He tried to make that his outlet. He tried to still act normal with all these you know,
put the emotions into his music.
Right. He tried to like still kind of like be like somewhat normal.
Yeah.
So he began playing like hymn-like songs on his guitar, and around this time, his mom like ended up having like a nervous breakdown, and you know she kind of suffered with some mental issues. At around this time, his mom was hospitalized. She was committed for slitting her wrists.
Oh wow.
So all this is going on, and Danny's like, "What the fuck?" So he then kind of turns to like drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, that must be
at this
tough
point.
for a kid.
All while still managing to try to be like
A
a normal growing boy. Yeah. At age 14, Danny was caught by the neighbor peering into their daughter's bedroom window, and of course he like told the dad, and this set the dad off.
Fucking creep.
And the dad ended up like beating him for it. Danny tried like to hold down to do like whatever like he could to get his mind off being home and like whatever. He even like, you know, attended church still and everything. Just trying to be a good old boy, but he wasn't.
Doing what he thought was the right thing.
So a little while goes on, and he's a teenager now, and he's like trying to hold down like some steady first jobs, and he's having trouble like doing that. So he's like, man, this isn't really working out, so I think I'm gonna go join the military. So he you know, like tries to join the Navy, but they wouldn't take him for some reason, and he ended up enlisting in the Air Force instead. So after a little while of being in the Air Force, he actually quit, or he was discharged for his drug use. And it was reported that he's actually like at that time, like he did, like he admitted to taking acid like over 100 times. Like it's fucking crazy. So obviously, like they discharged him. You know, he wasn't really getting the comfort and the structure, I guess,
out constantly.
in the military that he wanted to.
Wow.
This butt is hid.
Trying to go to boot camp, like tripping on acid, must not be fun.
Oh god. So after he was discharged from the military in 1972. He then goes on to marry this woman. Her name, I might botch it, I'm sorry, is Omather Halko. Omather Halko.
Omather.
And she was 19 at the time. So they like get married and they like move in together and stuff, and they're doing like the family thing, but his aggressive tendencies just kind of come creeping out. And one day he threatened her, and he said that he was going to kill her. But I guess she was like, nope, not today.
Not me.
Not me. No, sir. You're not going to catch me. And she just was like, it was that for me. And she fucking like divorced him. She was like, bye. She was able to escape.
Me if you can.
And it's reported that, so like after, you know, going through like this messy divorce, that turned like his tendencies like worse and turned his deviation into like anger. And shortly after that, after the divorce, he ended up raping a young woman that resembled his ex-wife. So that was like the start of like he actually like acted out at that point. They actually had him and his wife actually had a daughter together. I forgot to mention that. So for quite some time, Danny goes on to continue to commit just like petty crimes, thefts, robberies, stuff like that, going in and out of jail. He's been in and out of jail, like in the jail system from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. He's been locked up a bunch of times, yeah.
Career criminal.
Pretty much career criminal, yeah. Can you like that again? So meanwhile, he's like floating back and forth from like jail to jail, I guess. there was these murders that occurred around this time, and it was Julie Grissom, her father Tom Grissom, and her 8-year-old nephew Sean, who unfortunately were found murdered in their home. And this all occurred around the time that like Danny lost one of his jobs and like kind of returned back to his hometown in this like vengeful mood, I guess. I don't know. So in May of 1990, Danny breaks into his own house, breaks into his parents' house, and shoots his dad twice, nearly killing him.
Shoots his dad? What the fuck? Oh, because of all the years of abuse, he went back for revenge.
Yeah, right? He's like, yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
that's where it all started.
Like really unstable to the max. Oh my god.
His dad survives though.
Nice.
But he, like, in the whole ordeal, lost an eye and an ear. But he survived. I mean,
so it must have been like right through the head, at least, right? When one of the bullets must have went like
probably close range,
like,
yeah.
Eye, air,
yeah,
like out the corner of his head or something. Dang.
So after like all of that, he's like, "Oh fuck! Like I gotta bounce. I gotta leave. Like I just tried to kill my dad." So he ends up changing his identity with identity papers that he found while robbing someone's house one day, and he's like robbing their house, and he's like rifling through their shit, and he's like,
how convenient.
You know what? Yeah. I think I might need this paperwork.
That might come in handy one day. Yeah.
One day, like who knows?
Wow.
Take that with me. And so they came in handy. So he changes his fucking identity as he's like on his way from Shreveport, Louisiana to Sarasota, Florida. He changes his identity to Michael Kennedy Jr. Running away, though, like, is only going to make shit worse. It only ever makes shit worse.
It only ever does, yeah.
On August 24th, 1990, Danny broke into the home of Sonia Larson, 18. Well, she was 18. And Christina Powell, who was 17. And they lived on campus, I think, of University of Florida.
This is like, sounds like what the movie was based off of, right? Like, at the campus.
Danny, like picked them out, followed them home, and, like, broke into the house. And he was, like, a big guy. He was, like, 6'2", a couple 100 pounds, whatever.
No way.
And, you know, they, like, fought back. But he just ended up, like, overpowering both of them. And so he, like, ties them up. And he forces one of them to perform, like, oral sex on him. And then he, like, rapes and kills the other one. And then just, like, kills both of them.
Damn.
And then, like, he's just doing gross stuff to, like, their bodies. And then he comes back a while later and rapes Sonia again.
While she's dead?
While she's dead.
No way.
And then,
this guy's
like,
out of control.
Cuts off their nipples and, like, keeps one of them as a trophy prize.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
Okay.
I know. I told you guys it was gruesome.
Damn. Just walking around nipples in his pockets.
Fucking. The next day, he ended up choosing another victim who was Christina Hoyt. And pretty much, like, in the same fashion.
You said the next day?
Yeah. Like, the very next following day. Like, not even a whole 24. But pretty much, like, does the same thing to her. Like, stalks her, breaking in. So he, like, broke into her house, rapes her, kills her. And unfortunately, like, does mutilate her body as well. This time, like, he decapitated the girl, Christina, and was, like, playing around with, like, her head, and ended up like displaying it, like, on one of the bookshelves, like, near her body.
Oh, okay. This guy's extra as fuck. What the fuck? I didn't see any of this in the movie.
But yeah, he like cuts off her head, cuts off her nipples, and then like props her body up like the edge of the bed with like the decapitated head next to it.
What the fuck?
So gross. While he's just like out committing these crimes, like obviously like Shreveport PD and then like Sarasota PD, you know, like they're getting calls obviously like about all this shit, and like the community started to get like worried and like scared. And so they're like having trouble like connecting him to like everything so
to the
far.
murders,
Yeah, this is still like very fresh, you know. So they're like having trouble like.
Well, he's doing them fast, so it's like he's not giving them much time to even collect evidence at that point. He's striking by the day at this point.
And like, so the news of all the murders, you know, clearly is like spreading, and it's spreading through like campus, and it's spreading like everywhere that he's been pretty much. And like, it's so sad because like the students were so terrified to like go to class. They were terrified to sleep, like terrified to fucking do anything. On August 27th, Danny Rawling would yet kill again.
Oh my gosh.
But this time it was a couple, 23-year-olds Manuel Taboada. I'm sorry. Taboada?
Not the best with the names.
I'm sorry if I'm botching it. And Tracy Pauls.
Okay.
He killed Manuel while he slept, and then he killed Tracy. And the only thing, though, that the police at this point kind of had things to go off of was the fact, this is the only MO that they're starting to like come up with, the fact that Danny would like leave the victims' bodies in like sexually suggestive positions. So just like gross positions, doing gross stuff.
That's his like signature.
That's his, and that's like the only thing at this point that they kind of have to go by.
Some sort of MO.
It's something.
Yeah,
they're like, you know, it ain't much, but it's honest work, and this is fucking horrific.
Yeah.
So the authorities say that Rawlings didn't manage to mutilate like the last two victims, like his previous victims, and they thought like either he was spooked or he got like interrupted or like didn't have time, but they thought it was weird. They're like, that's weird.
They don't fit the MO put together. Yeah.
The murders all like occurred within like 2 miles of like the campus and like of each other. And everyone, like all the students and everyone who like lived near, on, or off campus was just so fucking terrified at this point. Like they would not leave. Like they went everywhere in a buddy system, right? They slept in shifts. They slept in big groups of like 10, 15 people, and like one person would, or two people would stay up.
It's like
they carried shit. And these are the college kids that are like, like I would be calling, coming to get my kid.
Yeah, I know. I would have
get home right now. Like
I would have.
There's no way.
My kid home at that point. Fuck that.
Like it was getting so bad. Kids ended up like dropping out, like never returning.
That's
like
what I'm saying.
The school at the end of this ended up losing, I think, upwards of like probably like almost like 5,000 or something. Like students altogether, they lost a lot. It was really bad. So the murders ended up just being in that 2-mile radius, which is so terrifying. I would never leave.
Oh yeah, barricade yourself in.
The university, you know, of course, ends up canceling like classes for some time, and you know, don't come in. You stay home. All the kids were like carrying baseball bats and chains and like weapons with them everywhere that they went, because they're
wrapping
like
their fucking fists and chains and shit.
You never know. I would walk with like my keys between my knuckles. Like pepper spray in the other hand, or like a taser or a knife.
Yeah, use everything you have at that point.
Anything. Oh my god. But yeah, and like a lot of people ended up leaving, and like about 1,000 like never came back to school or never came back to that campus. So Danny Rawlings, his father, remember we said he was an abusive cop, but he was a cop. Remember that? He was a veteran. So he was on the police force for like 20 something years.
Wow.
And
stand-up guy, huh?
Like unbeknownst ends up teaching his psychopath son how to like kind of get away with like crimes, like not leaving evidence, covering up your tracks, you know, like shit like that. Danny would kind of like pay attention to. Because if you're wondering now at this point, like, well, why isn't he getting caught? That's why. He ended up actually so whenever he would tie the victim's hands, duct tape the mouths, whatever, he would end up taking the duct tape, taking the rope, and pretty much everything that he like needed to put his prints on. He wiped down everything. Wow. He took it with him, like when he left the scene, often discarding it in like dumpsters and like, you know, around whatever.
He's paranoid as hell too. Wow. Him from getting caught.
Yeah, so for a while that's why they couldn't pin anything on him, because like they didn't have the evidence. But like you have to think too, at that time, 70s, 80s, 90s, like the technology then isn't obviously like what it is now. So the forensics that they didn't have really much, you know. Unfortunately. So after a while of this like going on, and so he kind of gets like bored of like killing, and he just like continues to just be like a fucking piece of shit human, and just like rob stores and people and committing crimes. He's still like whatever, low life, you know, just like being a fucking horrible person pretty much. So on September 8th, he actually gets caught. The police were able to apprehend and arrest him.
He gets caught
in a car crash. He was fleeing police because he tried to like rob a Winn-Dixie at gunpoint, and at the time they didn't know like he was who he was. Like he didn't know that like it was him doing all this shit. They just thought he was just a regular old schmuck, you know. So they arrest him, they book him, he's in jail. And like around this time, Shreveport PD and like Sarasota PD and like all these agencies are kind of like working together, and they're like trying their hardest to be like, okay, who is it? Like, let's narrow it down for real, because these murders keep happening. It's horrendous. Let's get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
Remember in the beginning in Shreveport, Julie, her dad, and her nephew. So that was the first scene that he ended up like acting out pretty much the murders, and like it's where it all began, when he began to like leave their bodies in like these sexual positions. And so that's what kind of like made like the authorities on the case, you know, the people on the case, the detectives, be like, oh, wait a minute, that's sus, hold on,
connecting the dots.
It wasn't until January of 1991, police finally catch a break. They were able to collect enough DNA from the crime scenes because they realized that he was cleaning them up. So they were like, oh, we got to scrub everything down. Like, extra. So they were able to collect some things, you know what I mean? Like some good kind of like amount of evidence from the crime scenes. And they figured so much time is like going on that they haven't caught anyone, that they're like, okay, so if we're not catching him out on the street, then this guy must be in jail. So they were like, okay, let's DNA test all the convicts, everyone who's incarcerated pretty much. And the closest match that they get, the closest hit, ding, ding, ding.
Wow.
Danny Rawlings, when he's like, all right, you got me. I'm the Gainesville Ripper.
He's like, all right, the chase is over.
The jig is up. You're done. Hard boiled.
Judge Judy, dude.
He's like, I did it. I'm the Gainesville Ripper. It was me the whole time. Meets the reporter, who in the movie would be Gail Weathers. And it goes into that. I obviously didn't get into that because this was going to be long enough. So they end up like, you know, she ends up like doing like this whole thing. The reporter ends up doing like this whole thing about Danny and everything. And then he goes into, you know, like as he's going into like the trial and his court cases and stuff, like he starts to develop more personalities and he starts to blame them on his other personalities and just starts to just unravel. So on November 15th of 1991, Danny Rawlings was officially charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder.
5 counts.
And he was given the death penalty.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
At least he got the death penalty like he deserved.
His last meal request was a lobster tail, butterfly shrimp, baked potato,
okay,
strawberry cheesecake,
my favorite,
and a nice big glass of sweet tea.
Ooh, okay.
And then on October 25th, 2006, finally, Danny Rawlings was executed by lethal injection.
2006, man.
My friends, was the stony version of the Gainesville Ripper, aka the Scream Ghostface inspiration movie guy. I hope you guys enjoyed this session story. It felt like it was so hard to record, and I'm really sorry if the video quality is poo-poo, and if like the storyline was... Thank you for just chilling and vibing with us.
Yeah.
Please
That's
like,
what it's about.
share, comment, subscribe. Anything you can to interact with this video. It really, really helps us as cannabis content creators.
Yes.
And if you have your own spooky story or even true crime story that happened to you and your homies while y'all were chilling in session, write it into the email in the description box below. We will read it and shout you out. Anything weird, creepy, spooky, whatever happened, we want to know. We want to hear it. I'm pretty high. Courtesy of the Sour OG. But thank you for hanging with us. And we will see you in the next sesh.
See you next time. Bye.